Welcome back to Cheche. We're live on Citizen TV discussing the political ambition and direction of the NARC party leader, Charity Ngilu. And on balance, listening to you, your ambition for Kitui to be the governor, your experience in government, your undignified exit, being suspended, it seems that your assessment of the state of nation is a bleak one. Is that correct?
Maybe I'll put it differently, that we as a nation have everything with us, all the opportunities and what it takes to make this nation great, and not just talk about our great nation. In the sense that personally, I cannot talk about a great nation when we know that 46 up to 50% of Kenyans are still living in poverty. They are unable to access health care. They are unable to access employment. You know, 40% of employable Kenyans are unemployed, meaning that they spend their whole day in search of either employment or just doing nothing. In which case, how are we going to make this nation great if half the population is not being used to actually develop the nation? And at what point are we going to stop and take stock and say it is doable, we can make this country great, really? I've seen now the SGR that is going on, and I'm very happy with it. But I look at it and say, God, what happens then when we have completed this beautiful railway line and up to Nairobi, and it will be clearing goods for ourselves from the coastal port and for other countries, Rwanda, Uganda and others, after they have cleared and brought those goods that are coming from outside. All those railway lines will be going back to Mombasa. What? In other words, we have not accepted that we need to be a productive nation to produce. Believe you me, and I have gone to industrial area that should be the one that produces for us, and most of the areas where people used to manufacture goods have become warehouses for mostly Chinese goods, meaning that we are not we are exporting everything that is supposed to do with our labor. Our people cannot produce anything. I cannot feel good about myself if every time I'm going to supermarkets I'm finding all produces coming from all other countries, including cotton coming from China, coming from Egypt, fruits, honey.
Produces cotton.
Honey, we don't produce anymore. Honey that used to come from Kitui. Sure. We're getting honey now from Egypt, from Australia, from Israel. What is this country producing? I'm asking that. And that's why I go back to my answer to you about Kitui County. We used to produce a lot of honey. Maybe this is where I'm going to go back so that I can help the people to produce the same. Why are we buying eggs from Egypt? You know, Egypt at the end of the day bring us food to buy, and they are using water coming from Kenya, Uganda, Ethiopia. It goes almost 6,000 kilometers to Egypt. They produce food and they sell it back to us.
That's a long list of complaints. Has the Jubilee government failed Kenyans?
I'm saying, and that's the other thing, that I also joined the Jubilee and we agreed. Remember my 5 issues when I was here on food, water, healthcare, education, women empowerment, which is just what we have been talking about, and wealth creation. Where are we on this? First thing, I was excited when I saw that we are going to do 1 million acres of irrigated scheme. You know, run away from, you know, agriculture that is rain-fed, that we can go to mechanized, we say. To date, go to Rift Valley. How are they drying their maize? They're still drying their maize using the sun. Surely you keep farmers waiting and waiting. Have their prices?
So has the government that you were part of failed?
You know, that is the whole point.
Well, I'm just saying that there's a lot that needs to be done and has got to be done
out
by
of 10
Kenyans.
Out of 10, what score would you give the government?
I think we must wait for until December so that we see
You're still hedging your bets about getting back to government or what?
No,
because you can't deliver a proper verdict on any of the questions that require to make judgment on the government.
I am saying,
No. Because this is what happens. When people are in government, they're very quiet. When you get out of favor, then you outspoken about these issues. Is it impossible to speak about these issues while in government?
By the way, it is not difficult to speak about these issues while in government. But there is where you speak about these things in government, because you have a cabinet where you bring all these issues out.
But you're not a member of that cabinet anymore.
Exactly. But they are still doing it. And now I cannot now sit back and say, I can only say we need to continue looking at what we said we were going to do, because people are waiting and they're saying...
Is it too late
for them to change and to do something?
Yeah, because they are still going on.
We have 15 months to go. But you need to continuously do your monitoring and evaluating your activities and your achievements, so that you see at every stage you're achieving what you said you are going to achieve.
Okay, fine. So since you won't give us a direct answer about, failure of individuals or the government, I'll ask you a question. Does your experience, your exit from cabinet preclude any sort of reconciliation with Jubilee?
But first and foremost, let me say, for me it wasn't a fair way of exiting, in the sense that looking at what I had been doing and what I had done before, and the agreement that we made with the President and the Deputy President, that these are things that we are going to achieve, and I have the experience, I just felt that it was not fair. May that be as it is. I now have to move on. And moving on is to look at what I have been able to do and what I can do with the people in actualizing their dreams and actualizing where we would like to bring this country. In other words, I do not have to continuously peg on what the country will achieve on people. All right, I agree. Leadership is what provides real...
This is all a bit too vague for you.
Yeah,
David,
I want us to get a little crystal here. You said your exit wasn't very good, and I appreciate and I think I would sympathize with that. In hindsight, looking at how you wanted the lands issues sorted out, you thought you could do it as a ministry, as part of government. You see what has happened, because you didn't think that mandate ought to have been left to an independent body, as wasn't envisaged in the Constitution, in the National Lands Commission. Now you have seen the frustration, the cartels, and the extent to which, if government drives that reform agenda, how far it can go. What would be your prescription now?
For
sorting out the land issue.
Sorting out the land issues? For me, it was very easy. For me, at the time, it was very easy. Continue saying that you can have your piece of land, but you cannot access records and continuously pluck out other people's land so that you give it to yourself.
And people have said that was the problem that the Constitution sought to address by vesting a lot of land issues in an independent body that is not political. You fought to get a bit of that mandate retained in the ministry. And I'm saying that you see where you went and hit the wall. You realize there are cartels. Do you think, therefore, there is hope of resolving the land question in Kenya in the current setup?
Just once again, I would like to say that you need to look at what the Constitution gave to the National Land Commission to do. Having said that, let me also say here that everything rises and falls on leadership. And the leadership has got to say, we are going to clean up the land issues once and for all. And the mandate I was given was to do just that.
Okay, I'm conscious that we're running out of time.
Do you think that this leadership has that commitment?
Let me say to you what I have seen very quickly. At the time I was leaving, I had done about the local normal title deeds 1.2. By the way, they still remain today, a year after, 1.4. They have not gone past.
We're not going to get a clear answer to that, but this is what our viewers are saying.
No, there is commitment.
Even with the rephrasing,
you've
we're not going
to have
get
a committed leadership that says things cannot be done the way they have been done.
Which is lacking.
Past.
Right.
It is lacking.
Oliver says, by Ms. Ngilu saying that Kenya needs a Magufuli, she admits that Uhuru Kenyatta is not the right person to steer us.
Of course, that's what I say myself.
Alexander, we'll all like the strong stand Ngilu has. Kenneth, she just said Kenya needs a Magufuli. We know what she meant. All the best, Mama Ngilu. Ms. Ngilu is actually admitting that this country is run by cartels who are more powerful than the presidency. And then in terms of politics, do you pursue personal interests rather than ideology? So because our time is running out, I'm going to ask you some rapid fire questions. Do you see yourself aligning with Raila Odinga in any form for next year?
I see myself first and foremost continuing to build my clear thoughts, as I said, about personally what I believe need to be done so that I can continuously talk about them to whatever alignment we are going to make at that time, and see whether they understand what I feel, what I mean, what I've heard from the people.
Okay.
And I'm getting to hear a lot from the
There's
people.
a bit of discord in court at the moment now over the presidential ambitions of the three principals. Recently, we had talk of an MOU with Wiper, and that seems to have been rubbished. And there are those who think that if Kalonzo Musyoka is not a suitable running mate for Raila Odinga as president, that you might be considered in his stead. Is that something you'd be open to?
I have not heard about that at all, but I know that they talked about an MOU, and we also know the history and the experience about MOUs in this country. However, what I clearly heard was that the MOU, and of course I got it from the media, I have not talked to any of them to say exactly what was this MOU about. It was about, once we get into office, each one of you will have their turn. That's what I've heard, meaning that they never got into office. And therefore it was dead before it actually could be sanctioned, that MOU. And I'm sure, people of course want to play around that, play too much politics around that. I personally think that politicians need to focus on the serious issues that are affecting this country.
The IEBC, that's an issue for several political leaders. What do you think? Does it need to be reconstituted? Do you trust the IEBC to conduct next year's general election? Look, I saw what the CORD people were doing, and I saw also that they had given a list of people where they wanted to have the Okoa Kenya referendum.
Referendum that they were asking for. IEBC said that they did not have the numbers. But I looked at it and said, surely you mean to say to me that if I give you 1.6 million signatures, half of that will be wrong? I said I doubt this. I doubted this. It gave me a reason to think that they are not very serious about that. And then they should have also allowed them to sit with them and tell them, this is how we have gone about this. In Kenya, people are more transparent. IEBC should have been more transparent to show that we have nothing to hide. So I think that is where, if I was the one sitting there, I would have allowed them to have a meeting with me, say to them, this is the list that you brought, this is how we went about them, this is what it is. Okay. And allow maybe live media, so that when you cover it, there is nothing that that people are going to think that you are hiding.
The cartels issue is vexing our listeners, our viewers. How will the solution be obtained if no one can mention these cartels? That's Duncan. Jane, they're always talking of faceless cartels, hence they're not sincere to the public.
They are faceless because they hide behind also, you know, the most powerful people in this country. So, if you are hiding behind these extremely powerful people, moneyed people, people with power, people who make others sit in office, obviously, you will find it very difficult.
Let me ask you another question. Since you left government, have you ever had the occasion to meet the president or the deputy?
No.
You have never met them?
No.
They have never even talked to you about your going?
We did talk about that.
And how did the conversation go?
I think we leave that.
When you say they have not communicated to you, did you have a letter of appointment to cabinet, and therefore a letter sacking you because you have been replaced?
Yeah.
A very interesting question. I had a letter of appointment, yes, and spelled clearly what I needed to do, but I haven't gotten as yet a letter of suspension or firing me.
Okay.
Are you earning?
No, she's already responded to that. She said no.
She doesn't.
No.
Yeah.
No, she responded to that.
She didn't respond.
I responded.
She did.
She did.
I did.
And so we're winding up now. And so panelists, I'll come to you to seek your views before we give you the final word. We've tried very hard to get some answers from Ms. Ngilu, and we haven't gotten them. You know, playing cards close to chest, you know, not wanting to...
I think, Doko, you are not...
I'm not being fair to you.
Like, which question haven't I answered you? Because I want a lot to say what I'm capable of doing. What other people are capable of doing will be the decision of people who elect them. So, if you are asking me what I think about that person, I think I've said politically what I truly think this country should be taken.
But a simple yes or no response. Were you let down by your appointing authority, the president?
Yes or no?
But why are you asking a straightforward question like that? When I'm saying that I was under very clear mandate on what I needed to do, and I was doing it, and to this point, we had already issued 1.2 million title deeds city. To date, that still remains the same. I mean, I'm saying, at the National Titling Center and your media, go and see what has happened within a very short time. You know, John Maxwell said everything rises and
the
falls
leadership,
on leadership.
Guru. Right.
And if there is no good leadership, things don't move. You know?
I think she has answered the question. Be fair to her. If there is no good leadership.
I'm just saying the leadership has got to be continuously checking on what we said. We agreed with the people that you elect me because I'm going to do this, but also let me be fair to the president and the deputy president. Quite honestly, they got into power and they had this huge problem of ICC, and you know it was not easy. And they just a few weeks ago.
But the president told us during the debate that was a personal challenge. Why should it obstruct their leadership?
But a personal challenge is still the same person who is leading the country.
So that leadership challenge that you're seeing and the political will to fix the problems, you have said there is issues around it. Are you seeing it anywhere else? Is it resident anywhere in the opposition, in CORD? Do you see any of it there? So that is the alternative we have, or are we stuck in a no option?
You know, leadership in this country has really been evolving around since President Kenyatta time, then Moi time, then Mwai Kibaki, and then now Uhuru Kenyatta. So it has just been evolving around you know, Rift Valley and Central Province, and which is, I mean, I have no issue about that. Certain things people have got to really sit down and not look at the personalities, but look at what is it that you have not been able to do that every year in, year out, you elect people, you are likely to elect them again.
Okay.
Opposition, I saw a huge difference in the Grand Coalition, by the way. I really saw a huge difference, because there was Raila Odinga, there was Kibaki as the president, and we got a lot of things done.
Okay.
And I was part of that.
So, fine, we'll come to you for your last word, but the question we've been asking our viewers this morning, panelists, has been, you know, what political future for Mrs. Ngilu? I pointed out that she's formed she's been part of every government since 2002. So what do you think is her political future? Muteli, I'll start with you.
I don't know. I don't know political future. I don't know. Because, as I said,
you've been doing this for a long time.
Trying to be a governor as a woman in this country is difficult. Kenyans don't elect women presidents and women governors, so that's a big handicap. She said the difference between her and Musila last time was very minimal. But is it now better? I don't think so.
Okay. David?
I think you have said she's been part of every government since 2002. If you use that as a trend setter, then she will be part of the next government. In whatever form, I cannot tell, or in whatever coalition or affiliation, I cannot tell. Though her going to run for Kitui governor, if you ask me, see, we have a shortage of high-profile women leaders, political leaders at the national level.
Because people like you defeat gender bills when they come up.
Yes, we must get the right bills. We just won't have any, we'll have the right bills. But the fact that she's going to the county means then the country is going to be deprived of Charity Ngilu at the national platform, agitating and campaigning for and fighting the causes that she does fight. Which is a decision, is a gamble, and I think she has a good chance, by the way, of taking Kitui. I don't think anyone has an upper hand if you look at the three of them. Any can take, depending on the affiliation again and the many dynamics. But I think that her politics is getting more colorful. Her exit from the government and her entry into it and her exit does not portray her very well as a consistent person pursuing a certain line, and she happens to pander to convenience, if you ask me, in my analysis, because of how she's gone in and out. And now she's in a crisis of where does she go. And there's always this statement that within Ukambani, the room is too small for her and Kalonzo Musyoka. I don't know how they're going to sit together, and they're already showing coziness, convenience, or is it long-lasting?
Okay.
For her to answer.
Yes, and if you could address that in your final remarks, the politics of convenience, personal interest, as opposed to ideology, you know, but also the direction you're taking, exiting the national stage and, you know, going back to the county.
But first, I like when you say a personal convenience, in the sense that
several of our viewers believe that as well.
You know, one always needs to see where she or he can perform best, best in the way of giving all to the people, that you must get an opportunity. And I also think this is not a very fair judgment, in the sense that for 10 years I was a member of parliament, if you may remember, from 1992, 1997 to 2002, and I was in the opposition continuously, you know, and I was asked many times by the kind of government then that was really predominant in Ukambani, to join them, and I did not join them. So therefore, what would have been more convenient than me single-handedly being the Ukambani opposition. It's not a nice thing, by the way, to be in opposition. The best thing is to be part of government and to fight for resources for the people within government. So when you say conveniently, I think you may not remember that history of 1992. Single-handedly, I was the DP, Mwai Kibaki then. At 1997, I ran for the presidency. And much as you say, women are their own enemies, being almost a first-timer, I fared very well amongst the men. You know, Mwai Kibaki, Malo, and Raila. You know, I did fairly well, and I should have picked up from there in 2002. But in 2002, we did agree how we were going to go. So I don't think this is just convenient. We said we as opposition then had been trying to get into government, and we were not succeeding. If we are not succeeding, it means that trying the same thing all the time is insanity, and we are not making it, and we are not helping the people, and that we have the people. So we said only one of us, whatever Quebec was saying, what Raila was saying, what Malo was saying, and we got a good government in place. Again, personal interests came in, and MOU that we had that time with the President Kibaki was trashed by people again with their own interests. That is what brought the 2007 problems, and I was aware of that MOU. So in 2007, that's when you saw a big split between Raila and Kibaki, and I supported Raila that time. 2013, I supported Uhuru Kenyatta. Is it convenient? I said it was not just being convenient. I also realized that with the numbers that we had, the whole region and the regions that were supporting CORD, and the Kalonzo had just moved, by the way, from G7, and they joined, you know, CORD, because he had not been there. I think these are some of the things that one needed to look at to make a decision.
Okay, thank you. So our time is up, and we thank you for your time on Cheche this morning. Today's guest has been the NOC party leader and the former Lands Cabinet Secretary and Kitui gubernatorial aspirant Charity Ngilu. Our thanks also to our panelists, our regular panel, David Makali and Wutegi Njao. My name is Udra Kamimo. Thank you for watching and engaging with us here on Cheche. We'll see you next week.